Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Thought-Provoking Show. I'm your host, Mike. Tonight's program is kind of special, as I will be encouraging young people who are creationists to get into the field of science. Yes, you can contribute to the scientific community in a big way, no doubt about it. Despite what those mean old atheists might say about you, you can make a difference. I'd like to encourage you to read Evolution, The Grand Experiment. It's a pretty good book. I believe this book can be taught in the public schools as it fits the science criteria, as it puts evolution in the test lab and tests some of the theories out to see whether or not it's true. It also quotes from both sides of evolution, those in favor and those who oppose evolution. It's got plenty of pictures and diagrams. If you really like science and want to get into science, this would be the book to read. Now, for those contemplating or getting into the field of science, there are things that you are going to encounter, and some of you already might know about that. It's basically an attack on your beliefs. And some, I would say the vast majority of the militant atheists, think that the public institutions are theirs and not just the taxpayers. I was in a blog once and I made a comment about that, and I got responses from various atheists and evolutionists saying, yeah, you're right, it is the taxpayers, but you're not supposed to put your belief system in the science lab or whatever. So I was kind of laughing at the response. But on the average level, they might believe that. But on the higher up level, they do not believe that. They believe that it's really theirs. And I want to make my point by reading an email that's from the controversy of the Smithsonian. He's a paleontologist that works for the Smithsonian. He wrote an email regarding the intelligent design article that was published back in 2003. This particular email, which you can find anywhere on the internet from the Congressional Record, it's dated 9/1/04 at 1:29 a.m. and I quote, "This is truly frightening. I can't believe it has come down to this. Scientists have been perfectly willing to let these people alone in their churches, but now it looks like these people are coming out and invading our schools, biology classes, museums, and now our professional journals," unquote. So as you can see, they do not believe that it's just the taxpayers who own these institutions. They believe it's really theirs, the control. Also, when you get into the field, you're going to be told what to think. Okay. I was in a blog once, and I seen this quote. I don't know if I wrote this down. I don't know if it's word for word, but this is basically what it said. It said, when working in a lab, one must bring the mind with all its thoughts and conclusions into subjection with naturalism. No idea allowed, unquote. There's other quotes similar to that where you can find where it says, even though all the evidence points to intelligent design, it must be thrown out because it's not naturalistic, it's religious. So people are not exactly in this field looking for truth, they're just looking for a certain bias. So it kind of reminds me of Catholicism in a way. Catholicism in Canon Law 752 basically says, the Christian faithful are required to submit their minds and wills to all doctrines declared by the Pope or the College of Bishops, and to be careful to avoid anything that disagrees with those doctrines. So the similarity between militant secularism and militant Catholicism are the same. the principles are different as far as, believing in one thing and then believing in another, but it's definitely similar as far as trying to tell people how to think. Okay. And one last thing before I go on, I want to make this as quick as I can. It's very important for you young scientists out there, or those contemplating of getting into the science field, to work on fields like junk DNA. Now, junk DNA for years was never really looked into, and I know if there was ID scientists out there, this would have been discovered long ago. But just back in November 2006, it became known that junk DNA is no longer junk DNA. It does serve a purposeful function, and which means that 97% of the genes that they found so far are functional, and it won't be surprising years later to find that 100% is functional. But there's only a small minority of genes that use code for proteins that make up our bodies. The rest of it is non-coding, and in evolution, that was deemed as junk, not worth looking into. So it's been amazing that this has been discovered, considering the dominance of evolution in our science labs. So that's what I want to end it there. So I encourage you young creationists out there, get into the field. You're badly needed in there, and don't listen to them, to those cranky atheists who try to discourage creationists on how to think and all this other stuff. Get in there, do those lab tests, find those discoveries, and I might be talking to you on here. How about that? I'm going to conclude the show for now. Until next time, on another edition of the Thought-Provoking Show. I'm your host, Mike.